Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Time is here. That's right, we're talking about 1981's The Fan on Kill by Kill. Well, greetings and salutations, Internet. It's your old pal, Patrick Hamilton, coming to you once again from Old Broadway. This is the Kill by Kill podcast, where we talk about horror characters in the order in which they die. And that's practically going to have to be abandoned with the exception of one old man in a theater, because barely anyone dies of their injuries in this movie. This, of course, can only be conducted with one person that I trust. And she is the one person that I trust that if I need to, I really should have written this down ahead of time. Gena, what would I trust you to do in the basis of this movie?
Throw away all the horny letters you get from your fans.
Oh, yeah, that would be neat. I haven't had a good horny letter in a while. This is not an invitation, but there was a period of time in 2018 where I, as the keeper of the emails, got a lot of horny emails. That stopped. I've become unsexy with familiarity, I assume. Gena, before we go any further and talk about this is really a three-pronged attack, because there were two people who were desperate to cover this motion picture. One would be you, and the other one is our very special guest. That's right, we are not alone. She is a returning champion, and she is also our resident Julian Sands expert, the one, the only Megan Sunday. How are you doing today, Megan?
I am doing great. I wish Julian Sands was in this movie, but he's not.
I mean, he was a dancer, right? Wouldn't he fit right in here?
Put him in a like spangled zoot suit.
Put him in an incomprehensible musical.
Yeah. Just see a lot of rib meat on him. I'd love that.
See, we need to tell the truth here. Megan and I basically bullied you into doing this movie.
Yes, we did.
Well, you bullied me.
You were indifferent. You were indifferent to it at best.
It's one of those movies, and I'll admit this, that I always forget that there's a moment in the movie that takes my breath away, and I go, oh, that's why people love this movie. And then I get back into it, but it's late in the film when that happens. There are lots of things that I like along the way, but no, it's not something that immediately comes to top of mind. But that being said, it's got some moments in there that'll just blow your wig back.
And it's so far the only movie we've covered that has a 10-minute Broadway dance number.
Oh my God.
And
it's that beautiful kind of, well, we're writing this for a movie. Mm-hmm. So I guess we'll just throw whatever we want at this. It's a similar thing to in Beaches when Bette Midler has like her big performance. And you're like, what is this play? This is the same thing, which makes some of the audience sequences great, because there's a couple of shots of James Garner that I don't think he knew the camera was on him.
Oh, no, there's one shot that I will post when this episode airs, which you see Hector Elizondo give a look like, are they recording this?
Is this part of the movie?
This is a mistake. This doesn't seem like a good idea.
It has early 80s, late 70s, early 80s New York City, which I love in a movie.
And it's grimiest.
So grimy.
I mean, all metal trash cans in front of people's homes constantly. It must have smelled terrible.
And much like my complaint was with the film, one of the complaints I had with the film, Wonder Woman 1984, so white.
Yeah.
The whitest New York City's ever been, particularly in the early 80s, much like Wonder Woman 1984 was the whitest Washington, D.C. has ever been.
Yeah, in the midst of a time when go-go music would have been all the rage.
Yeah.
Doesn't nary a black person in sight. But we're not here to talk about Wonder Woman 1984 because that would be its own discussion.
Yes.
No. We're here to talk about 1981's Fan, which I learned upon this rewatch that I had watched half of it before and taken notes. So when I combined the notes, this is the most notes I've taken for any film that we have covered.
Are they all about Griffin Dunne?
Partly is. And I discovered that Griffin Dunne was in the background twice now. So
look at him.
To think that this is the same year that he's an American Werewolf in London.
He owed someone a favor. His dad was like, you got to be in this movie. Lauren Bacall is in it.
Listen, just get near Lauren Bacall. Yeah. I need to have lunch with her.
Yeah, exactly.
Like slipped a note into her pocket. Call my dad.
Yes.
He gave it to Maureen Stapleton.
This movie is a bevy of background players. They're like, you're in this movie? Because it was a time when they would have just grabbed these people before they were real stars. So we'll come across them along the way. The other thing that I discovered about this motion picture was that it was based on a book.
Yes, which I looked into trying to get, but they don't have it on Kindle, which, come on, Bob Randall, what do you...
Come on.
Who's in charge of this for you? I'm not ordering a paperback of that. And I own some bad paperbacks, but I'm not ordering the paperback of this.
It's epistolatory, meaning that it's all written as if it is in letters or in journals, like Dracul. And you can tell that there are entire passages of this movie that they have lifted whole cloth from the book and just slapped into the middle of a motion picture as if it will keep your attention.
Well, I mean, there's some great stuff that he says in his letters.
Those are some letters.
Yeah.
He's really putting it all out there on the page.
Yeah, we never really get her journal entries, which I think is somewhat unfair. He's the one who stuck in the VO booth. But we also get to see him, take a shower. Yeah.
We get to see him do a lot of things.
There's a lot of close-ups of his lips.
Oh, yeah.
This is fine. I do have to say here that this is partially how I initially discovered this movie, was just Gena watching it, I think. Or someone mentioned it on Twitter maybe, and I said, oh, do you know what this movie is? And she was like, Megan. Do yourself a favor right now and watch this movie. And so I did. I was like, Gena, you saved my life.
So instead of a DJ saving your life tonight, it was Marvin Hamlish and Tim Rice.
Yeah, Tim Rice.
That's the Rice. All up in combining powers with the songmeister, Marvin Hamlish, who I primarily knew growing up as the person who would play piano near Miss Piggy. I didn't really know what his job was.
Like they did an amazing job of writing music that sounded like parodies of their own music.
Yeah.
It's first drafts, something that they would go back to if they were paid more and finish.
And I feel like the rehearsal moments are actually well done, with like all the dancers have clearly been there for 6 hours already sweaty. And Lauren Bacall shows up like, hi, everyone. I'm not a dancer or a singer, but thank you for being here.
That is evident.
Like, these people have jobs to get to later. Please hurry.
I'm trying to think of the plot of this play she's in. It's apparently how incredibly sexy this 60-year-old woman is.
Which is true.
Oh, she's not bad looking.
But I don't know why we have to hear her sing about it.
That's thin soup for a musical.
I mean, let's walk back the term sing. Because what she's doing here is a classic talk sing.
But not even particularly well. She's no Rex Harrison.
But it is the only musical that I can think of that puts in energy crisis into the lyrics of the song. And we get to hear it over and over again because this play this musical features a lot of faux ass slapping. It's a lot of the choreography is ass slap based.
And I like that it happens at a point in the movie where even Douglas, the titular fan, is kind of over the whole Sally experience. So even he isn't enjoying himself.
No,
he kind of looks like he's starting to pass a kidney stone because he's like, sweating and squirming, and I'm like,
where did he get a tuxedo?
He looks like he's going to prom.
He does.
I mean, it is very wide lapelled. This guy has essentially become homeless we already know he didn't have a lot of money to begin with. And now he's living in a Fleabag motel, and he just dons this, spotless tuxedo to go out, and he has bought a ticket.
Yeah.
And
well, he did like decide he wasn't going to watch most of the show. he shows up for the last song.
Ticket.
He shows up for the last number in the entire show. I love that we're just talking about the end. We could, if we wanted to, just discuss the last 20 minutes.
Well, I had to
leave the rest.
I had to point out that this also has one of my favorite. You sure you don't want to do a second take on that moments where Michael Biehn is coming down the stairs and he slides a little bit. Like Patrick, I'm sure you put on dress shoes, and the bottoms haven't been scuffed yet, so you'll slide a little bit. If you're walking across a marble floor, you got to be careful. He definitely does that, and they just left it in there.
Yeah, like a Jason Voorhees, he just slips on his own fish juice, and he gets a little whoopsie out of it. He recovers because I didn't make it all the way through the commentary for this disc.
There's commentary?
Oh my God.
Commentary.
Who does it?
From whom?
I can't remember.
Because what I understand,
I do know that filmmaker David Dakota, and this is the only time you'll hear me quote the man on this podcast, but he referred to Michael Biehn as mint condition in this. And motherfucker, he is right.
He's correct.
Oh yeah, he is.
He is
gorge.
Oh my God, he's so hot.
He's both hot, but also a little bit like a fetus they trained to walk around. He's a little too
because you're used to seeing, because you're like most people, your first exposure to him was probably either playing Reese or Hicks,
right?
And he's kind of scrubbly and stubbly and dirty and sweaty, and
he's walked on some skeletons at that point and fought with lasers and seen some bugs, and so he's a bit more world weary in those roles.
He's got a face full of acid. This is before he got the face full of acid.
Yeah. So he is prime, baby.
Yeah, this is one of those. This is one of those villains that gives me capital F feelings.
Yeah. He should have bought a lucite frame for that picture of Sarah Connor.
A gorgeous lucite frame.
Lucite frame. I want it to be one of those 3D pictures that you could order that they always advertise for you on like Instagram at Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, it's 3D from every angle.
Always see her picking up that Coke from the side of the road as she crosses the border into Mexico. Sure.
My favorite part of the background of this movie is just it's so refreshing to see, since it's Lauren Bacall, they could just use her own pictures,
and
they don't have to badly, like, they didn't even Photoshop, tape her face over somebody else's head next to Ronald Reagan or something.
True. She
was just like, oh no, like just find whatever you can.
They do save that for James Garner, who is 12 years is her junior. But it doesn't, I mean, why would I fucking care? She's Lauren Bacall. Yeah, you want to, if I'm James Garner, I want to get with that too. But you can also tell, like, there's a distance between the style of the fashions they're wearing. There's that one photo that Michael Biehn stares at and stares at and stares at. And you can clearly tell that Garner is wearing a 1963 tuxedo and she is in the 40s.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, these things do not match. They are not stylistically the same.
Their whole relationship is so weird.
Why are they best friends? But they want to. They
think they're a couple, and then they split up and decide to become friends, and then they fart around for an hour and a half, figuring out they're still in love or not.
Yeah,
I mean, he literally is like, oh yeah, I'm in town filming a movie, and I brought my new fiance at their super awkward lunch.
Yeah, let's have a lunch where we're both on the same side of the table so the director doesn't have to get coverage. So he just plants it on a tripod and focuses at these people all the while they're eating their Waldorf salads. It's just bleh.
They spent all their time doing like just the big shots of Michael Biehn running across the street.
Well, there's a lot of crowd control that goes into that. You want him to come out of a sleazy diner and walk across the street in traffic. That's going to be a big deal. In fact, it might be one of my favorite shots in the entire thing. He walks across after handing off a note to Lauren Bacall at the rehearsal studio. And he walks out and he's kind of like, I need to formulate a new plan because Griffin Dunne got in the way. He iced my hot drama letters.
Well, who amongst us
I know
has not been cockblocked by Griffin Dunne?
Notorious.
he just shows
the amount
up
of cocks blocked.
like, not again, Mr. Dunne. Please.
By Griffy D.
You again?
Again, sir.
But he walks across the street, and I don't know where this is in New York City, but we get to see some fantastic signage, and you know how I love real signage. We see a restaurant, and as soon as I saw it, I go, oh no, I'm going to have to sing. So I'm going to try to sing it like Lauren Bacall. So please indulge me, everyone. Because maybe you're gonna be the one that saves me. And after all, you're my wiener wald. Thank you. Thank you very much. Wiener wald, everybody. Wiener
Now
wald.
someone's going to start sending you letters that start with dearest bitch.
Fingers crossed.
He gets so angry. So angry, little Douglas. He's so mad.
Does. He's such a pissy little dude.
And the fact that she's so unbothered by really gross letters, because even before they get threatening, they're threatening in a different way, which is he's basically like, I'm going to have lots of sex with you and it's going to be amazing. And it's like, oh, no, I don't know who you are. And poor Maureen Stapleton is like, these letters are inappropriate. And Lauren Bacall just thinks, well,
Don't piss off my fans.
don't piss off my fans, even the ones who are sexually harassing
my
me.
fans. They're my fans. And we, at the very beginning, as we, hear dramatic typing, we get to see Lauren Bacall, with a bunch of stage door Annies. And she immediately whips out her own pen to start signing away these autographs. We see a little known Chris Kattan SNL character behind her, smoking a very tiny cigarillo. And then they're portrayed as if they're lepers. Like Jesus heals, lepers that are portrayed with more empathy than these autograph hunters. But this one gal steals this pen, dashes across the street, and Douglas just sweeps the leg, and she goes down hard. And he's like, haha, my pen. Boom. And that's our introduction to Michael Biehn's Douglas Breen.
It's also the first and only movie I've ever seen where the opening credit sequence features a threatening close-up of a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, I wrote several times, if they want me to be scared of this Swiss Army knife, it is not going to fucking happen.
No. He's got the corkscrew. He's got a bottle opener.
That's right. Like he can open up letters and he can whittle something at Cub Scout camp. It'll be fantastic. We learned that the play that she's in that is closing that night is called It's Called Tomorrow.
I love fake titles.
Oh, yeah. I do too.
Things. Like in All About Eve, there's a bunch of good ones, which also, you were going to say they were treated like leopards, features the line autograph hounds. They're not people.
It's true. Hounds.
They just like anything like that, fake book titles. It's just always so good. They're always so like bad. Like it's never anything that sounds remotely realistic.
No.
I mean, as a person who is paid real money that goes in my bank account to title things, you would be fucking surprised what people have come up with to title shows and movies.
I just learned about a movie today that is apparently called Cosmic Sin, which, as I noted on Twitter, sounds like the title of a Star Wars smut fic. But that's an actual movie. That's almost like, ooh, cosmic sin. Like, whoa.
He's a Jedi who's taken an oath.
That is the plot of lots of Star Wars smut fics.
Yeah, it's very true. People want to get in those cloaks, baby.
You make these jokes, Patrick, but you're actually not wrong.
Yeah. This is a curse I live with. Bacall is festooned in a purple jumpsuit with a diaphanous blazer, like a boss. This will not be the last purple jumpsuit we see in this motion picture. I kept count. There are fucking 5. So in New York City at that time, if you didn't have a purple jumpsuit, you weren't going to no parties. You weren't dancing awkwardly to James Brown. I'll tell you that right now.
That looks like the worst party ever. Oh my God, what an uncomfortable party that looked like.
Just everyone. And like, there's either not enough cocaine or way too much.
The cigarette smoke.
Oh, and everyone's just loosely ashing everywhere. And it looks like there's wicker furniture in the background. White wicker furniture.
That's probably like, from a time when a lot of people stopped wearing deodorant because they thought their natural scent turned other people on.
I worked as a studio guide with somebody who had that philosophy.
Pheromones,
I can tell you
baby.
Right now, I was not sexually attracted to him based off his musk.
You didn't like it? You didn't get a nice whiff of those pheromones?
Oh, I got plenty of pheromone whiffs. Like Universal Studios is in the valley. We worked in the summer. Like everyone was sweating into polyester. I got a whiff of everyone. Okay, so we already mentioned that Maureen Stapleton is playing Belle Goldman.
She's also the only person in this entire movie who understands what kind of movie it is.
Yes, absolutely. She's the only one acting in the movie that they're making.
And has a realistic commute.
Yes, she does.
She's like, well, I've got to go home, so I'm going to leave now. I'm going to go shopping, but also it's going to take me 2.5 hours. I have to take lots of subways.
I'm just going to drag myself through this horrible subway tunnel.
Oh, in 1981, I mean,
yeah,
they had warnings about that sort of thing. I share that booklet on Twitter constantly. Like, please do not go to New York City.
Don't go to Kill City.
Kill City. Oh, it's the best. It's my favorite thing. And unfortunately for poor Maureen Stapleton, the only thing that I ever think of is a very stupid joke for Mystery Science Theater, where a character has the last name Stapleton. And they just go, Maureen Stapleton, looking good. And so every time I hear her name, it's like, oh no, I'm sorry, Maureen Stapleton. You have a storied career.
She's in some sort of war with the housekeeper maid, who is aggressively vacuuming in her direction. Like every push forward is another fuck you at Belle Goldman.
And it's like, ladies, you have to work together to babysit this adult person.
And she is aggressively babysat. Like, it's a whole thing that she is either so sorry for herself she can't move, or would like you to feel sorry for her because that's your job and that's what she's paying you to do.
Oh, no thanks.
I mean, I will say this. Sally, the character, and obviously to a certain degree the actress portraying her, is at a crossroads, right? She's a middle-aged actress in an industry that does not respect or cater to women of her age. She's divorced from James Garner, who can fall off that cliff and land gracefully. And then everything that he's got going on under his slacks no longer available to you, no matter how many times he awkwardly kisses you on the cheek. And then she's agreed to star in a Broadway musical that sounds fucking terrible. The world is her oyster.
Yeah, but that's the whole thing about how great she is.
She's so great. Everyone loves her.
Yeah.
She's
Everyone
just
is
a legend.
Almost like it's contractually required to love her.
Douglas just loves her for her.
True.
And for his weird, like, because you know what young men have always loved? and that's Stars of the Silver Screen.
Well, this is where we have come to a weird crossroads. Like, this was the perfect time for The Fan. If we had begun with The Fan, I don't know that I would have appreciated its charms. But when compared to the other films in which we have people obsessed with women way out of their fucking league, as in The Seduction and someone who is entranced with people of the silver screen, Gena, help me.
Fade to Black.
Fade to Black.
Megan made this comparison on Twitter. I'm like, I don't know how I never thought of that before, but they are very similar.
Something was obviously in the air, right? Everyone read the magazine articles and were like, oh, stalkers are a thing. We should do a stalker movie. And
I like that they're both kind of also like the different coastal versions of how this would work.
Yeah.
Because, Douglas has to ultimately stalk someone who is in a Broadway play.
Sure.
Whereas the other, oh God, what's his name? Eric is,
Binford.
Working kind of in film. He'd like to say he works in film, like literal film.
The same way I felt I worked in the studio system when I was a studio guide. No, I was on the fancy bus that went around. And then I would say, oh, look out for Jaws. That's not a job in entertainment, really.
I was always entertained on that ride, though.
Oh, you weren't on my tram. I got glowing reviews up until the point where I left for a couple of years and did other jobs in the system and came back. And literally the day after I got back on a tram, someone, one of the higher ups, evaluated me. And she's like, what is this joke you're doing about Janet Jackson? I'm like, well, we go down Old Mexico, and that's where she did a music video for Escapade. And she goes, why are you singing Escapade? I don't know. How can you not sing Escapade? Like, I putting some zazz into it. And she's like, don't do that. Never stopped. Never stopped.
You could put all the zazz into our show that you want.
Yeah, you've been saving it up.
That's right. I have a zazz reserve. So Douglas's job is in a record store, which is great because he loves modern music.
his little necktie and sweater set.
She took a 1.5 hour lunch.
She took a 1.5 hour lunch. Like he's doing a Jack Nicholson impression in the mirror at one point. The person he's talking about is Dana Delaney, who is rocking a new wave attitude and the skin of a fucking angel. She looks like $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
She's got very swoopy hair, and she doesn't know she's only 13 years away from starring in Exit to Eden. The world is her oyster.
Yeah, I want to I want to know what it was about Douglas that made the record store manager say, yeah, this guy looks like he should be playing the organ in the local Protestant church. Is my guy.
He could lift the boxes.
Yeah, he seems like he's good with the cardboard box.
That's why he's in the back unloading.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna put Dana Delaney out front.
We do get to hear "Do the Dog" by the Specials, and I really appreciated that.
I like that she goes for concert tickets to wait in line, because remember that? I mean, I really don't, because this movie is as old as me. And I didn't go to concerts before there was an internet. So, but I've read about it in books. So
it actually kind of sucked, to be honest. With you.
Yeah. Everything that is bad about the internet occurred in those lines.
Yeah. Anything that involves having to wait in line for long periods of time, you can keep it. Not interested.
Noise.
No, that's fair.
Seriously. Yeah. Like you want to wait online for a PS5? Fuck that noise.
No. Whenever I see people lining up for anything in a store, I think, what?
Yeah. No. Don't.
Especially
do
now.
it.
I mean, remember concerts? Wow.
Oh, very bad. Don't do it.
Yeah, I may wait in line for a vaccine, but that's about it.
Yeah, right. I think that's the new hotness.
So I can tell you one thing: Douglas does not respect the merchandise or how insanely hot Dana Delaney is. This is how you know he is crazy.
I like that when his sister comes to visit him, just to say that, no one's heard from you.
Yeah.
Her one complaint is that they only hear from him when he needs money, which is like, well, okay, that's not uncommon.
Yeah. I mean, he's a young person in New York City. Of course he's going to need money. But she also complains, like, it was once upon a time it was fine to dress up and pretend, but you're an adult now. It's like,
well, he's not dressed up. He's just having an imaginary dinner date with a person on his TV.
Yeah, that's entirely different than dressing up and pretending. These are two different leagues. He's full-blown crazy town now.
Yeah. He wasn't wearing the tuxedo at home.
Oh, that would have been great if he just hanging around in tux all the time.
If he's opened the door in the tux, I'm having dinner with an actress. Like, oh dear.
The next day, we learned that the musical rehearsal is going to be held with 2 stars in tow. The first we've discussed, Griffin Dunne, just flitting about in the background. The second is Howling Mad Murdoch, who is the director of this musical.
He does not respect Lauren Bacall.
He seems to have lost a bet, and that's why he's here. He is never happy with anything that happens, and as soon as she goes, then get off your... you can see the life drain out of his face. Like, oh boy.
He's very Michael Douglas in a chorus line. I hate everything about what I've clearly chosen to do for my life, which is direct musicals.
Yeah. Then we get to hear more letter writing. The little shop around the corner added to You've Got Mail involves less typing than this movie. Hackers may have less typing than this movie.
He was taught how to write a letter. You got to type it. You got to sign off. You got to leave space in the middle for your signature.
Very
At least
true.
until you start getting too crazy and then you leave it off.
Yeah. Then we get a bunch of rehearsal footage, and we learned that all of these day players are rather live. No one has an ass, and no one is wearing underwear. They're thin as rails. And as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of rib meat on display everywhere you look. It doesn't matter what you're in the mood for. It all contains rib meat.
I feel bad for the guy who I think is the one who ultimately ends up getting killed in a YMCA pool.
Yeah.
And he just wanted to get a cup of freaking coffee. But no, Sally's got to be like, let's go get a juice. She's one of those people.
Let's go to the health store. Don't drag me down to your weird level.
I'm a dancer in New York in the 80s. I want coffee and cigarettes.
I've been having sex with guys in the park. I need coffee. That guy, I'm just scrolling down here, weirdly enough, became kind of a scream queen in a way. He's played by Kurt Johnson. He's sporting one of John Davidson's spare dry look haircuts. And over the course of a couple years, he's in Ghost Story, The Fan, and Soul Survivor. He was obviously a Broadway dancer, but he had this horror career, which was sadly cut short, not to bring this down, but in 1986, he died of AIDS, disease that took far too many wonderful people. It's the pandemic that killed millions and that we don't talk about. AIDS, everyone. Look it up. It's very unfortunate. He's the one guy in the chorus who does have a nice ass, though. And he looks great in jeans.
At least there's that.
Yes. So Douglas then writes another letter, and in it he states that he isn't just a fan, but someone Sally can count on. And also, they will be lovers very soon.
Is that one where he says he has all the necessary equipment?
Yes.
Imagine
charming. Ruler, I have a level.
Imagine getting a letter like that from somebody. Ew! You just like right in the wastebasket. Even if you like that person, you're like, well, that's done now.
He had better moves as Kyle Reese, who is ostensibly a virgin from the future.
Yeah.
Please don't refer to your genitals as your equipment.
Never.
No, even if they are equipment, just don't do that. We do get one really nice shot here that I just want to point out, and it's an overhead shot in which we're hearing one of Douglas's letters, and it's him sitting on one of these park benches, and some of the park benches are straight across, and some of them are askew,
like his mind.
Yes, Gena, you got the subtext. It's a good looking fucking shot. And it's weird that this guy went on to direct, like he still is directing a shit ton of premium television.
I saw that. Yeah. He's on like HBO's, like they got him.
Oh yeah. He is any show that you have loved in the past 10, 15 years. He's probably directed an episode of it. Like he is working, but they didn't sign him up for another movie after this. He was kind of a one and done. I think he has a Cyndi Lauper vehicle that he does later on that also makes no money, but they're like, oh, no. You don't do features anymore. You come to TV. That's where he goes.
At least he's still working.
Exactly. Yes. Oh, and listen, and he's working on great stuff. So he's doing just fine. But I'm trying to find where we are now. Doug, over the course of the movie begins to get wetter and wetter, as if he's leaking desire.
Oh.
At one point, he gives a monologue to himself about how they need to fire Dana Delaney, and there's a shot of Donna Summer just over his shoulder looking disapprovingly at being included in this movie. Why are you dragging me into this? I'm the queen of the disco.
Like he was just like, don't look at me that way. I don't care for disco.
Yeah. When in Manhattan, cast members of this unnamed musical rehearse at JoJo's Dance Factory. Smelt some jazz hands today at JoJo's Dance Factory.
Look, they're working with some slim pickings here.
They really are.
It's a weird avant-garde musical about the past, but the energy crisis, but
and how there's no love in Paris.
Oh.
There's no love in Paris. She needed hearts, not diamonds.
But also hot love baby tonight.
Oh.
Which is my favorite line of dialogue in any movie possibly ever.
Hot love tonight, baby.
She's just like hot love baby tonight. Just
No.
Her delivery is just amazing. I love it.
It's like she read it off a flyer that was put under the windshield wiper of her car.
It's like it's like an ad from a pizza place. Hot hoagies tonight.
Baby is in, but baby is the third word into it.
Yeah.
Hot love baby tonight.
We should point out that you can watch just the musical part of this movie on YouTube. We should post the link when this goes up.
Yeah.
It's literally like 12 minutes long. So
I just don't get why so frequently it's like they forget that they have added this to a plot.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the last minute, they're like, oh no, we have to come up with a plot for this play that they're all doing.
And this, I'm not entirely sure what the plot of this is.
Yeah.
She seems to be breaking out of Tron prison to go to Paris to have sex with 4 guys wearing circus pants. And then it's like, it's not all it's cracked up to be, baby.
No.
And I don't know what the play is. I don't know what this is.
She's had enough champagne.
She surely is.
which is never possible.
At a certain point, while Michael Biehn is stalking Maureen Stapleton, he gets so wet that I began to think that he was like a leather egg that Peter Lorre was working his way out of.
that is very, very evocative. My God.
Yeah, well, someone here just doesn't type angry letters to middle-aged women, you know. Unfortunately, poor Maureen becomes Maureen Slashington.
Oh, but she lives though.
She does live.
And at the end doesn't even have a scar, really.
Yes.
Amazing
it's
work.
Very subtle. Great work being done on Maureen Stapleton.
Well, I mean, like Lauren Bacall better have footed that fucking bill for that reconstructive surgery.
Yes. Hopefully she is not footing that bill alone. Hopefully she is on some sort of medical plan under,
She has to remind Sally about bills and stuff. I don't know if she's paying those. She's trying to hand cash to a doctor. Like, here.
Here you go. What is this, like $200? Here you go.
Like, oh no.
But if you were wondering, like, I don't know, this movie seems, you're telling me there's some prime Michael Biehn action in it, and there seems to be some fairly attractive people, but who's really gonna up the sex appeal of this movie? And that's when you get a hot injection of Hector Elizondo, baby.
Who I always forget is in this, and then he shows up, and I'm like, there you are.
Yes, and I don't know why, but they make a very clear decision that he doesn't wear natural fibers. And every shirt he has on is silk and open practically to the clavicle. And he is a police officer.
He's a young hot cop. Like,
yes.
Come
on. And for some reason, he and Sally don't get together. It seems the whole movie seems to be at a focus point where it's like, well, you can't really trust James Garner. Like, you've been there and you've done that, but you have Hector Elizondo right there with a mustache. Why aren't you riding that Hector Elizondo mustache?
Well, they kind of like flirt a little bit, but then
they have like breakfast and stuff.
But then she decides she wants to be with James Garner instead.
Yeah.
After he dumps his little chickadee.
Who has a haircut that looks like Darth Vader's helmet.
She's so strangely nice. Just the fact that they chose to make her just clearly like just a nice younger lady.
But she's also dumb as a fence post.
Of course she is.
When someone extends their hand to shake your hand, you don't go, pfft, which is basically what she does.
But I feel like in a lot of circumstances, she would have been just some complete, like a complete blonde bitch. Just like, is this your ex-wife? Didn't know they were inviting old people or something. But instead she's like, hi, Sally. Like,
yeah,
it's so wonderful to meet you.
But that at that point, you kind of get like, does she understand the gravity of what's happening? Oh,
probably not.
Yeah. Well, you're growing that nice helmet of hair. Maybe not everything's happening underneath there. The good news is it's fun to stockman at the YMCA. And poor Doug goes to take a swim. Well, I'm sure that's not the only thing he's taking at that particular location of the YMCA. But we got the perfect plan here. Okay. So Michael Biehn's going to like, listen, I'm going to bring my shorts. I'm going to stick my razor, what kind of blade is that?
Straight razor.
A straight razor.
Yeah.
Stick my straight razor into my loose shorts and they'll stay there by magic.
I just would love to be like how many takes he gets in the water just because they just come like bobbing to the surface. The razor just goes bobbing to the surface.
Like, that's not mine.
By the way, this YMCA looks like Lex Luthor's lair in the first Superman movie. It's just covered with the sweat and jism of 1,000 hookups. And he slips into the pool, you know, kind of goes under and pushes off under the water towards this lithe young man and slices his chest open underneath and then just swims away.
No one
and
stops him.
No one stops and like, what's that guy swimming with a straight razor in his shorts doing? Perhaps we should stop him.
Let's see. He swam past this guy. This guy suddenly is bleeding and screaming for help. Maybe we should see what that fellow is up to.
Yeah, no, and he's just duck walking away because the shorts are too small. Like, oh.
And the fact that he chose to attack this guy because he went to a party with Sally. And so, of course, Douglas can't have that. And it's like, Douglas, he wasn't her date.
Yeah.
Honey. It's okay. Yes, he
Well,
spent time with Sally and you didn't get to, but I don't think he was a threat.
this brings up the weirdest component of this movie. And that how much of this is actual aware that queer people exist.
True.
And how much of it isn't. Because at one point in this movie, Michael Biehn's character goes to a gay bar and is eye fucked by every dude there.
I mean, why not?
Well, I mean,
I'm not blaming them. All I'm saying is if you're about to commit a crime, don't show up in Michael Biehn's body and lips.
Well, what did he look like? He was incredibly handsome.
It's like an angel fell from heaven and had tight jeans on and
just like a baby face, but also very chiseled, and the arms.
He had a very rough but tender hands that I wanted to hold me. Is this a good description? Are you good? You're not writing this down.
Oh, where's your sketch artist? I'll do the sketches. Here, hold on a second.
He's in the spank bank. Believe me, I've memorized every contour.
That is that scene though is the very weirdest plan that anyone's ever had. I mean, not the part. So at this point in the movie, they know it's Douglas. They've pieced it together finally because they threw out all the
somehow found a
envelopes.
way into her apartment and killed that aggressively vacuuming maid.
Yeah, for no reason.
For
Just,
no reason.
Just cause, and smashed up a bunch of stuff.
Because he wanted to show her how close he could get.
But he also smashed up all her stuff. And I mean, I'm sorry. He threw out all kinds of clothes out of her closet and he came on those. He did. It is not shown in the film, but I think we all know.
That's a running thing. We talked about this at some length in our episode on the seduction. Because there's a scene where he is hiding in her closet, and I'm like,
come on.
There's so many jizz tracks all over that clothing.
Yeah. Like he was in that apartment.
I think her
for
joke
a while.
there was that she was constantly going to her dry cleaner and going, "What is this? Why is this all over my finest lingerie? Why is this constantly happening?"
Well,
all of Sally's purple jumpsuits.
This plan, makes sense when you think of it in terms of, one of Hollywood's favorite. It's more about Hollywood movies of the 70s and 80s. But one of the favorite tropes is lazy cops, where basically he picks up a dude, lets the dude go down on him, lets it go a little longer than he needs to.
He needs a decoy. He wants a decoy body, and how?
Mm-hmm.
So he has to choose. I mean, they don't know what he looks like, but he still kind of picks a guy who's similar, enough. But yeah, then he's like, how do I lure this guy up to the roof? Well, I'll say it's a hookup. But then instead of just saying like, oh, look at the beautiful stars, cut his throat, he's like, no. You could go down on me, I guess, for a while.
A long while.
If you must.
Which brings up the question that we're not exactly the most equipped to answer, but I'm sure if you want answers with more authority, you would go to Attack of the Queer Wolf and Horror Queers and the like. I'm sure that I did not listen to those episodes because I knew we would one day do this. But does this mean that this character is in fact queer and is just deluded about Sally? Or does the idea that he's a queer man trapped in this heterosexual fantasy make him a killer, which is also a terrible thing to put in a movie?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more I certainly think that they didn't intend for the latter. I don't think this is like a dress to kill thing where you know they're struggling with some aspect of their sexuality that turns them into a killer. I think that if he is queer, he is attracted to Sally because he perceives her as an older woman that's not going to expect much from him sexually. You know, he's intimidated by her, but not in a way that men are often intimidated by women. You know,
Hence the awkwardness of the letter.
Yeah,
because,
he probably doesn't actually think she's going to want to have sex with him because you know she's old enough to be his mother. Yeah, so he kind of work out his feelings and you know, and not really have to have it he doesn't have to walk the walk, as it were. Now, granted, I'm pulling that entirely out of my ass, but
film criticism.
Yeah, I mean, it could also be that the scene would just be really lurid. You know, I mean, this was a year after this was a year after Cruising came out, so people were still a little, well, I don't know if I want to see dudes getting on with other dudes. That's something for movies that are supposed to be really gritty and dark. And I mean, I just think it's funny because again, my favorite thing of lazy police work where he kills this poor young man who just wants to give someone a BJ and burns his body and leaves a note saying, "Hi, it's me, Douglas Breen," and the cop's like, "Okay, that's good enough for us."
What a wild way to kill yourself. All right.
It's
nuts.
I'm going to set myself on fire on top of a gay bar.
Like, well, let's move it along, boys. Wrap it up.
Yeah.
Well, it's sort of like the end of Black Christmas where no one actually looked in the house.
Oh my God, that pisses me off so much. They left her alone.
They left her alone. There's a body in the attic.
The part of the point of that movie is that every guy in it loves when these women are around, but never cares what they think or say or do. They're like, these girls, these women, come on. Like, we live in a real world. They never, ever consider them people. And that is part of the point of the original Black Christmas. And here, I just think they saw Day of the Jackal and they're like, oh, that's a fun trick. And they put it in the movie. That's it. A trick that then is repeated by the remake of the Jackal, where Bruno himself gets a blowjob and slashes a guy's throat to take over his identity and continues skipping across the United States to kill the vice president. I can't remember what happens at the end of that. No. I just know Jack Black plays a arms dealer. And you're like, what? That guy can't drive across a highway. All right, fine.
It's very, I mean, I understand what you mean about Black Christmas, but they also I just think that someone could have opened a few doors.
Oh, I agree. I 100%.
He's clearly just in a closet, like waiting. This is what I do.
Yeah, no, those are not great cops. They aren't.
She killed the guy from 2001. It's done.
That's right. You know who is a great cop? Thelma from TV's AMN. She's fantastic.
That's why she is in this, isn't she? Yeah.
Yes. It's very weird not to hear her beg her dad to find her a date. I don't know how many episodes of TV's Amen I saw, but as soon as I'm like, oh, it's Thelma from TV's Amen. Like,
she's the best cop. It was exciting to see a female cop in a movie in the 80s who was actually good at her job.
She does get ducked out on by Sally at one point. He says, "Oh, I'm off to the Cape."
I mean, when you have a house at the Cape to just
look, she had to stand along the shore with a diaphanous wrap. Look, you can't be stopped from doing that.
You'd have to sit on the beach, sadly, in a striped sweater, scarf, and just wait for James Garner to show up.
Yeah. And
For
then he
someone who
does.
thinks that a guy is coming to kill her, she is snuck up on very quickly by James Garner.
Well, her solution is she's not only snuck up on James Garner, but just some other guy who's like, oh, I wasn't sure you were here. And she's like, I'm going to slowly close this blind and then I'm invisible. That's not how it works, Sally.
That's what I do when someone rings my doorbell. Like, oh no.
They'll never notice.
Kind of.
So, in case you're wondering, there are parts of this that sound fun and there are parts of this sound weird. Is this really, my sort of thing? And I'm here to tell you that we've reached that moment, the jazz hands moment, the moment in which we meet the opening number of this musical. And I'm just going to riff off some of the names of the characters. Now, they're not given names. I've given them names, but it's very important we identify them. Otherwise, we won't understand the plot. First of all, we have Phantom of the Doritos. Gloved hand and face. We have Barricade Bombshells of 36. We have Fire Escape Floozies. We have a Tron Beetlejuice. We have a pink Dracula who just hangs upside down. We have a stage replication of the 2002 version of Spider-Man with one person upside down and then the other person just lip length close to them. And then I don't know what the fucking plot of the show is, but for some reason she's not allowed to say the word ass.
Because then it's funny.
It's
sassy.
naughty.
Yeah. At one point in the rehearsals, she's told by the director, can you move from that spot and walk faster? And she's like, why? Because I need you to move from that spot over to the other half of the stage faster. And she's like, it's the spotlight person. Move from stage left to stage right, Sally. You got a job.
Look, she's been, if it didn't open with her having done a play, I would think that they were just trying to make it like, oh, she's been doing movies, so it's different. She's not used to, she just doesn't care.
She is the star of the stage.
It's me in high school drama. It's going, what, there? Fine. Here we are. Why are we doing Miss Saigon? This is inappropriate for everyone.
What was your helicopter in?
Well,
your
it was just we had to
version
do
of?
scenes. It was part of, it was a quiz. We had to get into groups and do numbers, and we couldn't come up with one. We kept arguing, so our teacher assigned us one. So that's how 4 white kids from Tampa, Florida, ended up doing The Heat Is On in Saigon.
Oh,
yeesh.
We knew enough to not attempt to do any kind of makeup, but we did have to dress like sex workers.
Oh, well,
So,
that's no.
At least we weren't being racist.
You've got to be in character, Megan. Come on. My high school drama teacher, and I did not start drama until my senior year because I was afraid. And he had a system for blocking in which he taped numbers on the stage in a grid system. So when you reached a certain line, he would go, okay, move from 12 to 17.
Oh my God.
And that was your motivation. Move from 12 to 17.
No.
Yes.
Oh
He
God.
had, listen, I can't imagine how hard it would have been to be a queer man in La Crescenta, California in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, up until the point I met him in the late 80s. But he had a uniform that consisted of, like, it looks like he was a Blockbuster employee who was late to work. It was just tan pants, creased, and a blue Oxford shirt always open to reveal a white t-shirt underneath. And he weighed 65 pounds.
You're painting quite a vivid picture.
Yeah.
This has been a very evocative episode. You know, what's brought it out of me is hot love, baby, tonight.
And our end of year musical was Smile. Yes, the one about beauty pageants.
So everyone had to don bathing suits and sparklers.
Yes.
Mm.
Appropriate. We had to cut out all the jokes that were about sex.
Yeah. that makes sense. We get to see her final number, which is called Hearts, Not Diamonds.
I don't smoke. I've never smoked, but I wish I could just really smoke like she does at the beginning of that. It just looks so fucking cool.
It does.
I truly wish I had started counting how many cigarettes versus letters are in this movie, because it would literally be neck to neck. Like, I don't know who would win, cigarettes or letters, but it would be close. It's a lot.
What always gets me about like just smoking in movies is the amount of it done at a meal. That's what gets to me. And I've, you know, youth of today, people used to smoke. And I knew lots of people who smoked, but not sitting at lunch. Like, we weren't in a restaurant. They were like, "Oh, my salad's here. Let me light up."
I could tell you, my grandmother would smoke like between bites. I don't think she tasted anything. I think that her taste buds were just worn down to like useless little nubbins.
Yeah. No, they're cloaked in tar.
This is why people could eat so much aspic and mayonnaise, because they could not taste.
Exactly.
So everyone and of course she receives a standing ovation
for her off-key singing.
Oh man, it's so really bad. It's terrible.
And Lauren Bacall had done musicals in the past. I think
she's in Applause.
She was in Applause. She was in Woman of the Year, but here she's just completely, just horribly off key. And again, it's like, you want to do this again? No, okay.
Well, I noticed, like on Wikipedia at least, they were saying that they had wanted Shirley MacLaine, who I feel, not that I feel like Lauren Bacall does, but Shirley MacLaine is not going to suffer anyone writing her dirty letters.
No, absolutely not.
I can't picture her in a movie getting that, like her secretary telling her, "Oh, look what he wrote about his equipment." Her just not being like, "Oh, what?"
Like, just like, finding his apartment and like he opens the door, she like punches him in the face.
Yeah, no, that guy would get kicked in the balls so fast. He would find them in the Bronx.
But she could make me believe a song called "Hearts Not Diamonds."
Yeah. Lauren Bacall is left to die here. This song was nominated for a Razzie. Not that we're big Razzie fans here, but it's true.
But yeah, it reminds me of remember Waiting for Guffman.
Yeah.
And remember Eugene Levy doing his audition? He sings like "My Genie" with the light brown hair or something.
Yes.
And he's trying to carry that last note, and he's like, she literally does that. She like tries to carry a note, and she stops, takes a breath, and then does it again. I'm like, oh my fucking God. I mean, I can't carry a tune in a bucket. But, I know my limitations, and I have no idea why they did not tell her, let's do another take of this.
Yeah, exactly. I also cannot carry a note. As you've heard me sing karaoke, so you are aware. So just the idea that anyone just left her there. Lauren Bacall, and no one said, let's do something with this.
I'll come at it this way, and I don't mean to brag. Obviously, you can tell because I've sung twice on this episode. I have the voice of a fucking angel. But it's really weird that they didn't just dub her voice. Like, just fine. Like, it would make her look good. Like, no one's coming to this like, I gotta hear Lauren Bacall sing. That's not the reason you're coming to the fucking thing.
Or let her loop it in later. I mean, this was...
They did?
Yeah.
No, this was looped in?
This is she is lip syncing to Hearts Not Diamonds.
This isn't Les Mis. No one's singing live.
Oh.
Yeah, no one's... There's no cat buttholes in this. This is all pre-recorded, so...
Wow.
Oh, dear.
Whereas the hot love baby tonight.
Hot love baby tonight.
Every time she says it, she looks at the camera like, can you fucking believe that this is what I'm supposed to be doing? This is wild.
James Garner's in the audience sitting in front of Michael Biehn going like, what?
Okay.
Which take is this? I don't even know.
I don't know. So everyone leaves triumphantly. She gets a standing no. Doug skulks off. And everyone seems to leave this theater but her, which why?
And they turn all the lights out.
Yeah.
Like everyone is gone. And that's one of I dislike that so much in movies because it's so uncomfortable. It's just this kind of very visceral, like, wait, hello? Oh. Mm. Yeah, everyone else has gone to the party. No one waits for her.
No.
Not James Garner, who previously brought her peonies and tried to like kind of make a move when she's supposed to be on stage in like 10 minutes.
Yeah. Is that the time to reconcile with your ex-wife? Is right before she steps on stage?
Was wearing just a robe. I think he was a little like, well, can't help but notice. Like, okay.
James Garner kind of does the same thing that Roger Moore does, where he doesn't know how to kiss women. And he just kind of, it's very tight mouthed. And
it's true.
I think it's, I'm married to my wife and I don't want to make it look like I might be attracted to this other woman.
Right. But I paid money to see the movie where he kisses somebody. So put some fucking effort into it, James.
Now, are you angry at James Garner or James Bond?
Both. 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 The answer is both.
Okay.
Doug swipes a switchblade off of the prop table. And
of course it's real.
Yeah. No, you want practical razor blades. This is a real show. Which I believe is called Never Say Never.
The most generic fucking title for like anything. It's the most generic name.
Yeah, you gotta at least throw it again at the end of that.
Predating a James Bond movie that will come out a few years later that's also called Never Say Never.
That's called Never Say Never Again.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. And it has one good bike chase. And then at one point, he plays video games to the death. With somebody.
It's true. It's all true.
It's a real thing that fucking happens.
Kim
in that
Basinger
movie.
is there.
Yes. Oh my God. Kim Basinger looks. She's also mint condition in that movie, and and also full of rib meat. Plays a dancer. There's a lot of parallels here. So they have this. I wouldn't even call it a chase because, our leading lady, Miss.
Where did he get? Can I stop you for a second? Where did he acquire a riding crop from?
That's also on the prop table. She actually picks it up first.
Oh, right. Okay.
That is part of the Zoot Suit riot that is this show.
I like that there's no one to put the props away. There is no prop master. Like no one locked those up or put them in a different room.
It's also like a one-person show. Like who is her co-lead in this? It's just her and a bunch of people dressed the same.
Yeah.
And then there's like one cop who goes out and like swings, I think, that baton around to establish it. And he's like, no one's fucking tonight in Paris. What? We're in Paris?
Yeah, there's a whole sequence that's in Paris because the ladies are in lingerie.
Oh,
as they do in Paris.
That's what I
saw
learned.
Emily in Paris, you'd know that.
It's Emily in Paris.
It is not, and I refuse.
Golden Globe nominee, Emily in Paris. Fuck the Golden Globes. Honestly, for everything they occasionally get right, well, they're like, oh, that person did deserve that. There's like a million, like, what the fuck is The Father? That's not, I refuse to believe that is a real movie. That is nominated in multiple categories.
And they only nominated Hamilton because someone had heard of it. They were like, oh, I saw that play. Like, yes, but it doesn't, it's a taped.
Yeah. No, we didn't have good comedies this year to nominate. Megan? There weren't plenty of other options to go with.
And I mean, hot take. I'm by no means a hot take, but you know, I love Lin-Manuel Miranda, but he is not the best part of Hamilton.
I think by design, like he has a murderer's row around him. Like it makes sense.
Well, I mean, that's the problem. I mean, because isn't the Golden Globes just people being like, oh, I don't know, I like that. There's no other like basis to it.
No, it's a small club that you're not even required to actually write for the territory you're representing, and it's all about like who gives you gifts, who comes to the parties, who do you want to have show up to your award show. That's what it's based on. It is not based on talent or merit. They just want to fuck with things and make sure there are lots of stars in a tiny room where no one can get around one another while you're loudly eating, boiled chicken to get to the stage.
Well, and that's appropriate thematically to this because in 1981, that's when Pia Zadora won for Butterfly.
Because her much older husband bought off the press.
What were we talking about again?
I don't know.
Oh yeah.
But that's a movie I shouldn't have seen on cable when I was like 15.
Whoa,
absolutely not.
Where were my parents?
Whoa. I wasn't allowed to watch the 76 King Kong in the 80s. And you're telling me you got to watch that?
I did too.
Do you not recall half of the Warlock episode? I had no supervision. I was constantly just like, this movie looks artsy. I'll watch that.
Man,
I saw Valmont when I was 12.
Meanwhile, I can identify cast members of TV's Amen. That's what I got out. So they have this back-to-back. And then it ends up being like almost the exact same thing as the seduction. Because once she goes, all right, okay, you got me cornered. Like, let's see what you got, big boy. And he's like,
he's like, I love you. I love you.
I'm so sorry.
Sally, please be my mom and also my girlfriend.
I have a tiny wee. Can we go have milkshake? And you're like, what the fuck is this about? And then I guess she stabs him in the neck somehow. I don't know how the
and then
knife
props
gets
him up in a seat. I don't know how that part ends. It's a good ending shot, but
yeah, he backs up into it. I couldn't tell you.
It's Sophie Rose back.
Yeah, just perfectly sits himself.
I just want to see the lead scene where she's like, painstakingly like lugging him over her shoulder.
Put him over here.
He's heavier than he looks.
This is the person who couldn't lightly jog to run away from her assailant.
And then
and she can hoist the body.
Just throwing him down the chair like a sack of potatoes.
He murdered her like assistant. I don't know what you call her, dresser, I guess it would be. And the poor stage manager.
Pop.
And Pop.
His name was Pop.
Pop.
Of course it is. And as every character like this in a movie ever, he's just there to listen. He just wants to hear what happened at the horse races. He just wants to know.
He doesn't have money on it, but you know what? He gave up betting, but he still wants to know because he loves the sport.
And see, Patrick, you said at the beginning that not that many people die, but this has got a pretty good body count. This has got a bigger body count than the seduction had.
Yeah.
Oh well, that's true. I mean,
it's just that Maureen Stapleton's is very like dramatic leading up to it, and then she ends up being fine.
Yeah, she gets a couple scrapes. And then I don't think her beard. I assume he lives.
Well, no. Because she mentions later, because his name was David. She said in one line, David died.
Oh.
So yeah, you got him. You got the BJ guy. You've got the maid. You got Pop,
the dresser, and Pop.
Yeah, and then you've got Doug. If you're counting Douglas, you got Douglas.
Yeah. Okay. So if we're going to, do we have any other notes on the fan so that maybe they can do a re-edit or, someone can take it on and they're like, I'm going to make the fan awesome. What would you do for that?
It's going to be real awkward when the cops come back to the theater and just be like, so I killed him because you guys were gone because Hector Elizondo didn't want to come to the party. I guess because James Garner is back in the picture and he's sad.
He made all alpha male about it.
Yeah.
I sent the other cop away. She's going to the party early, like woo woo, like that's fine.
Yeah,
she deserves it, honestly.
Yeah,
but okay, poor Lauren Bacall's just there.
Yeah, I just want to see her going into the party and like she's got like blood splattered all over her. And she just like picks up a glass of champagne, just like throws it back.
Hot love baby tonight.
I thought if there had been more time towards the end, I would have assumed that after the whole, I love you, I'm crying part, that, as soon as she started being like, no, I get it. Like, it's, I understand. Of course you do. He would have been like, wait a minute. No, you don't. But they didn't have time for that kind of like, role, like the collector-esque reversal of like, wait a minute. You don't like me.
Very true. Gena, what say you?
I love it.
Yeah.
A wonderful motion picture.
It is a fine film.
I'm so glad that it took us 2 years to get you to agree to do this movie.
Just hassling you. Just hassling.
Listen, I think this was the right place to do it. After those other two films, this fits into a neat, tight package that we can say our slasher suite, or our stalker suite, rather. It happened at the right time. Let's put it that way. So let's play Choose Your Own Deathventure, and that's where we decide of the deaths featured in this motion picture. If you were forced to die that way, which one would you choose and why? So up for bid, we have slashed in the swimming pool at the YMCA, slashed in Lauren Bacall's closet, have your throat slit mid BJ and then get immolated on a rooftop, slashed in a dressing room, and stabbed while you're just trying to get, who won the pick six from the horse races. Megan, what say you?
I mean, I guess I'm going to have to go with the swimming pool, because I assume that was probably fast at the very least, because I don't particularly want to be slashed or stabbed or have my throat slit. And the last thing you saw was a shirtless Michael Biehn.
Mm-hmm. Sure, but it was cloudy because it's all of that YMCA water with all that chemicals in it.
Take what I can get, because I die in that water, and then they probably didn't even clean it before the next swim time. Okay,
Gena, what do you got for me?
I'm going to say stabbed in Lauren Bacall's closet, because I mean, what what's glamorous surrourings. It probably smells really good in there, like Chanel No. 5 or something.
She sprays all her like scarves.
Oh yeah, and let me point out that we left out, speaking of the stabbing the housekeeper in the closet scene. That is also when the best line in the entire movie is uttered.
Oh.
Now it's weird. They sometimes cut this line out of if you ran it on Amazon, they cut this line out. But it is his final letter, and he says, "See how easy it is to get close to you? How would you like to be fucked with a meat cleaver?" And I'm like, "Not very much, sir. Thank you."
Yeah. No, thank you, Douglas. No, thank you.
That is a hard pass, sir.
Which and also his greeting in the letter is "Dearest bitch."
Dearest bitch.
Which if I still send personal emails, which I don't very often anymore, they're all going to be entitled as such.
Yeah.
I'm starting all my tweets to you. People want to fight.
All of our conversations about this episode should start with "Dearest bitch." Yeah, what would I choose? I think I gotta go out like Pop. He goes out a hero, he gets stuck, he's reading, he's a stage manager. It's just he wears a pork pie hat. What's not?
He's pretty old. He's pretty old too. He had a good run.
Yeah.
The life Pop lived, the loose children he has, some of them he doesn't even know about.
He's been living in New York since like 1920.
Yeah, he's been working at this theater since 1936.
He remembers.
Telling me he didn't get some action. I think so.
He remembers vaudeville.
Yeah. The Burly Q.
When stars were stars. So that just about does it. Before we go, Megan, why don't you tell our fine listeners what you're doing now and where they can hear more from you?
I am the co-host of Let's Get Weirding, a Dune podcast with my friend Bo North, who we read Frank Herbert's Dune series chapter by chapter. We cover it. We are coming up on our 2-year anniversary, and we are in the middle of covering Children of Dune, which is very exciting. It's a really good book. And I'm also a staff writer at thespool.net, where I review movies and TV.
All right. Gena, where can people find you on these here internets?
I too am a writer for thespool.net. I recently covered some movies on the Sundance Film Festival. And I mostly review movies and television.
All right. Do it today, people. Check it out. We're on all your socials. We're on Patreon. We had a fun episode this last month where we talked about an episode of Chips where Donnie Most is hassled by his demonically possessed radio, and Elvira is the best actress in the entire thing. It's called Devil Rock. I think.
Yes.
I think it's from season 6. One of the characters is named Hot Dog.
I hate it.
And we'll have more fun for you this month. And next week, something cool will happen. We don't know. We're playing by the seat of our pants, people. That just about does it. But don't worry, folks. The body count will continue. So for Megan and for Gena and myself, bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.